The moment the pen stopped moving, the room went silent. The contract worth more than most people could imagine lay unsigned on the polished table, and across from it sat a man with tired eyes who had just said no. Not out of anger. Not out of pride. But because of something that happened on a rainy street weeks earlier, something no amount of money could undo. Before we go any further, if stories about kindness, unexpected choices, and the quiet power of doing the right thing mean something to you, you might want to subscribe to Kindness Tales. These stories are shared heart to heart, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments and know what moments stayed with you. The single dad lived in a small rented duplex on the edge of a growing suburb, the kind of place where new coffee shops popped up next to old laundromats and everyone complained about traffic but still waved at their neighbors. His mornings started before sunrise. He packed lunches with notes scribbled on napkins, tied shoes while sipping lukewarm coffee, and measured time not in hours but in school bells and bedtime stories. Life hadn't turned out the way he planned, but he showed up every day anyway. His work was steady but modest. He managed logistics for a mid-sized construction supplier, the kind of job where you solve problems no one notices unless something goes wrong. He was good at it. Calm under pressure. Reliable. The kind of employee who stayed late without being asked and never talked about it. At home, his world revolved around his daughter, a bright, curious kid who believed her dad could fix anything with duct tape and patience. On the other side of town lived the millionaire's daughter. She grew up in glass and steel, in houses with echoing hallways and walls lined with art that cost more than most homes. Her father had built an empire from nothing, and by the time she was born, money had already done its work. The best schools. The best tutors. The best cars waiting in the driveway. What it didn't give her was stillness. Expectations followed her everywhere. Every mistake felt public. Every choice felt measured against a legacy she never asked for. That rainy afternoon, their worlds collided. Traffic crawled as storm clouds pressed low over the city. The single dad had just picked up his daughter from after-school care. She was chatting about a science project, her shoes dangling inches above the floor as he drove carefully through slick streets. At an intersection near a shopping center, the light turned green. He eased forward. Then came the sound that makes your chest drop. Metal crunching. Glass shattering. The car lurched sideways. The other vehicle was a luxury SUV, barely scratched, but the impact had pushed his older sedan into the curb. His daughter cried out, more startled than hurt. His hands shook as he turned to her, checking her face, her arms, her breathing. She was okay. Shaken, but okay. The driver of the SUV stepped out in heels that sank into the wet pavement. She looked pale, eyes wide, rain streaking down her hair. She kept saying she didn't see the light change, that she was distracted by her phone. People gathered. Someone called the police. The single dad stood in the rain, holding his daughter close, feeling anger rise and then settle into something heavier. Fear. Relief. Exhaustion. When the police arrived, statements were taken. Insurance information exchanged. The SUV driver kept apologizing, her voice tight and breathless. He listened, nodding, more focused on keeping his daughter calm than on assigning blame. Before leaving, the woman looked at him again and said she was truly sorry. He believed her. The days after were hard. His car was declared a total loss. Insurance covered part of it, but not enough. Rental fees added up. He borrowed rides. Took the bus with his daughter in the mornings, waking even earlier to make it work. He never complained at the office, but his performance slipped. Deadlines felt closer. Sleep came in fragments. One evening, his phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. The voice on the other end introduced herself as the woman from the accident. She said her father wanted to make things right. She mentioned a meeting. Opportunities. A chance that could help him get back on his feet. He was skeptical, but polite. He agreed to listen. A week later, he found himself in a high-rise conference room overlooking the city. The view alone felt unreal. The father sat at the head of the table, calm, confident, the kind of man who spoke and expected the room to adjust. He thanked the single dad for coming, apologized for the trouble his daughter had caused, and then made an offer that felt surreal. A senior role in one of his companies. A contract valued at over $100 million, tied to long-term projects and leadership responsibilities. Benefits that would change his life. Stability beyond anything he'd known. The room waited for his reaction. The daughter sat quietly, hands folded, watching him with a mix of guilt and hope. He asked for time. At home that night, he stared at the ceiling while his daughter slept beside her favorite stuffed animal. The offer was everything he'd ever wanted to give her. Security. College savings. A future without constant worry. But something gnawed at him. The timing. The reason. The feeling that this opportunity wasn't about his skills alone. He thought about the accident. About how easily things could have been worse. About how apologies don't erase consequences, and money doesn't always equal accountability. Over the next few days, he learned more. Quietly. Carefully. The role he'd been offered would require him to approve cost-cutting measures he didn't agree with. Layoffs disguised as restructuring. Projects pushed through without proper safety checks. It was standard practice at that level, dressed up in polished language. He met the daughter again by chance at a coffee shop near his office. She recognized him instantly. They talked, awkwardly at first. She admitted she'd never faced the fallout of her mistakes so directly before. That the accident shook her more than she let on. That seeing him struggle afterward made her realize how insulated her life had been. He told her about the bus rides. The early mornings. The fear he felt when his daughter cried in the car. Not to guilt her, but because it was his truth. When the final meeting came, the contract lay open in front of him. The numbers were staggering. The signatures waiting. He thanked them. Spoke slowly. He said he appreciated the offer and the apology. He said he believed in second chances and growth. But he couldn't accept a deal born from an accident and tied to decisions that didn't sit right with him. He wanted his success, if it came, to be clean. To be something he could explain to his daughter someday without hesitation. The father looked stunned. The daughter's eyes filled with tears. He stood, shook hands, and left. Life didn't magically get easier. He still took the bus. Still worked long hours. But something shifted. Word spread quietly in professional circles about a man who walked away from an impossible offer on principle. Months later, another opportunity came. Smaller. Honest. Built on respect rather than obligation. The daughter changed too. She started volunteering at a community center. Took responsibility in ways she never had before. She and the single dad stayed in touch, not as symbols of a dramatic moment, but as two people who had learned something real from each other. In the end, the accident became more than a collision of cars. It became a collision of values. A reminder that kindness isn't always loud, and integrity doesn't always come with rewards you can count. Sometimes, the most powerful contract you sign is the one you make with yourself, promising to do right even when it costs you. And maybe that's the quiet lesson worth carrying with us. That in a world obsessed with winning, there's still deep, lasting power in choosing fairness, empathy, and honesty. If this story moved you even a little, I'd love to hear about a moment when you chose kindness over convenience. Share it in the comments, because you never know who might need to hear it today.